If you're an athlete, you know the greatest motivator of all is the fear of letting your teammates down. After all, a team is only as good as its weakest link. So you owe it to those wearing the same jersey as you to be your best every time you step on the field. That's why there's no vape in team. When you vape, you can expose your lungs to toxic chemicals that can damage your lungs. If you're a step behind, the team's a step behind. Brought to you by The Real Cost and the FDA.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Do you have a point of sale system you can trust, or is it a real POS? You need Shopify for retail. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify POS has everything you need to sell in person. Go to shopify.com/system, all lowercase, to take your retail business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/system.
Almost, I would say 75% of our members come from a personal offer that I personally make, and most don't. I reach out to our listeners, I reach out to our followers, I reach out to the people on social, and I form connect. I answer questions, and I do it with a 3-year mindset.
Hey, Millionaire University Nation. I'm Brian Guerin, back with you on the Millionaire University podcast. And today I am joined for the second time by my friend Vincent Pugliese of Membership Freedom. He's joining us for part 2 of his episode series, How to Create a Membership Business from the Ground Up. And it's going to be awesome because if you haven't caught his first episode with us, it's back on episode 136, just a few episodes ago. I highly encourage you to check that out first and then come back here to part 2. But if you're doing it out of order, that's okay, because what we're talking about today is some of Vincent's top unique memberships that he's encountered or ones that he's coached on. And we're also going to mix in a few more quote unquote commonplace types of memberships, things that might be a little bit less from left field, but work the same nonetheless. So without further ado, let's welcome Vincent back to the classroom. Put your hands together. Vincent Pugliese, everyone. All right, folks, welcome back to Millionaire University Podcast. Brian Guerin with you again today, and I'm stoked to be joined by Vincent Pugliese again. And Vincent runs a membership for memberships, so which I think is the most fun way I can describe what you do, Vincent. So thanks again for joining us, man.
My pleasure. It's funny because that's how I say it now. What do you do? I say that and I get that just really kind of confused look on people's face, and then I get to explain it. So it's a nice intro.
I love it. All right. So in part 2, we are talking about some of the most unique ideas and most unique memberships that you have come across, that you have coached in, and that you have met people who run these. But also we're going to talk about your favorite kind of more common ones, where some of these unique ones are going to be awfully unique. I've had a bit of a preview on them, and that's going to be cool. We want to get all you listeners, we want to get your juices flowing and help you think of some things that might be outside of the box. You might have a crazy interest that you think you're the only one, but no, there is absolutely a crew of people out there who may very well want to be part of a membership and do that thing with you. Or you might feel like you're a little bit more mainstream, or there's some sort of skill you have that you feel is a little bit more common, and there's definitely ways to form a membership around that. So Vincent, anything to add on our little title here before we dive in?
No, that's good. I'm ready to go. This is going to be fun.
All right, perfect. So I'm throwing the mic to you, Vincent. Let's kick it off. What's one of the most unique memberships that you've encountered before?
Okay, I might start off by repeating myself because I don't remember what we talked about. And so this might be a repeat if you listen to the first one. But it's one of my favorite unique niche ones. And it's my friend Deborah, and she has a murder mystery quilting membership. And I know you and I kind of discussed it maybe off camera or on, but that's the one that whenever I tell people about it, it completely like shifts their mind and their head twists, and they say, what is a membership for quilters that love murder mystery? Now, when you talk about either I'm all in or I'm all out, that's the perfect one. And it's the type of thing where people go, I have an interest in fishing, or I have an interest in, all these different hobbies. And they go, but it's too niche. I think it's too niched. No, nothing's too niched. If a murder mystery quilting membership can have 3,100 paying members to their membership. So that one is one of my favorite to talk about because as soon as you say that, you question all the doubts that you have.
I love it. And I should probably preface this with you listeners out there. If you haven't listened to episode 136, which just dropped the other day, go back and check that out. It's how to start a membership with Vincent here. But yeah, this is one of the ones when I first met you, Vincent, we were talking about, you're like, dude, you won't believe this. There's a lady that runs a murder mystery membership. And I'm like,
Murder
no
mystery
way.
quilting.
Murder mystery
Yeah.
quilting, even more niche, right?
You take one niche and you bring it together with another one. And she was in this thing where she was like, oh, I had this business. I can't remember what it was, but she had a brick and mortar. I think it was like a yarn business. And she started just, here's where it comes from, paying attention to what her clients were interested in. And a lot of them talked about murder mystery stories. Now, most people are going to be so busy in their day-to-day activity and I got to pay the bills and I got to make money that they would blow right past it. She's like, I wonder if they'd be interested. And she said to herself, it's probably not going to work. And it's kind of a good place to start. Probably not going to work. I'm not counting on this, but I'm going to try this out. And here's the thing, she had built up an email list from her existing business. One thing builds off the next. It doesn't always just start from nowhere. It starts often from something you're already good at or you're already known for, and then you bring in a different kind of twist to it, and then you do it in a different form, like a membership instead of a brick and mortar business. And all of it, she said in the first year, she had a couple hundred members just from going out, and then it builds on there. And guess what happens? Membership builds community. We say it all the time. They come for the content, but they stay for the community. And she had a great story of she always thought it was about the content until about 3 years in, one of her members had their house burned down. So they'd done like 3 quilts over 3 years and everything burned up. Well, guess what? The community got together, got the patterns of the ones that she did, made the quilts over again for her, and delivered her 3 brand new quilts that were the ones that she had, essentially the ones that she had built. So when she had her new house, they had those quilts, and it brought the community together. We see it the same thing here in our community. You think you're coming because you're going to learn the tactics of building a membership. But then you start making some of your closest friends and you start collaborating together. And then all of a sudden, the people that get you are the people that you're in this with. And it's no longer obscure. It's like, this is our tribe. So that's what she did. And that's what almost every great membership does.
That's amazing. So, and yeah, and we're going to talk about that a little bit here, I'm sure. The fact that a membership kind of becomes a community. It's not just, hey, I'm paying to be here. It's you're starting to become one as a community, which is amazing. But for your friend Deborah's specific community being such a cool little niche, you made the comment that she already had a brick and mortar. She had a built-in email list. One thing builds off of another. For her membership, if you're allowed to share, what does it kind of look like? Like, did she just like hop in here and was like, okay, for $20 a month, we're going to get together online and quilt together and talk about murder mysteries? Like, the impetus here is incredible.
Well, I interviewed her in January in our group. She was a guest in our group, and the first year was terrible. And it was so good to hear it. She's like, she cried herself to sleep. It was funny because it's like the people were mean. I remember I said that to somebody else and they were like, quilters were mean?
Yeah.
Quilters were like the nicest people in the world.
Thinking.
Like, yeah. But she hadn't figured out, and she's so glad she stuck it out. And it goes along with what we say. The first year is pain. The second year is balance. The third year is freedom. The worst people for me to deal with are the ones that want instant success right away. This isn't a power washing business. This isn't something that you just, nothing against it. My son has one and it's a great business. But if you learn how to power wash a driveway, you can just start right away and do it. You're not dealing with bringing people together. You're not dealing with so many things that come with a membership that are harder in the beginning, but are so much better 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. She's 9 years in now and it's just crushing it, and it continues to grow. So the community aspect of it is like she had to learn how to deal with, membership clients, how to run a real community. Once you get it, and once you bring people, she said now by the third year, the community basically runs itself. You have admins, you have different things in place, and you just kind of oversee a lot of it. And a lot of times, if you're a visionary, you're the dreamer of the new ideas. But she had this idea of let's quilt a murder mystery quilt throughout a year. Sign up, from October through February, but it starts in February. And every month you will be given design for like a quilt, a portion of that monthly quilt. And within it's going to be kind of a hint. And then you do the next one. And then throughout the year, they're trying to guess, is it this? They're trying to figure it out. Sometimes they do. There's all these things going with it. But by the end of it, they've quilted this thing. They all go in community together and then they re-sign for the next year. It's pretty cool.
Huh. Okay. So it's almost for that one, that specific one, it's almost like gamified. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't really understand it from the get-go what exactly the murder mystery would entail, but that's pretty cool. That's fun, right? And I'm sure these whoever's doing this quilting, this is just a fun thing and they want to be a
Think
part of
about it.
it.
You spend $100 a year, and instead of you just quilting in your, in your living room with maybe one other friend, you got friends around the world that you're doing this with, and they have little groups that they get into, and they have different separate. I just find the idea of creating something from nothing like that the most appealing part. Like, you took something that wasn't even there, and you made something like this, like that. When you can shift the paradigm on that, it changes the whole, like, well, I could never do something. You don't even know. You haven't even tried. You're gonna, like, she didn't fail, but a lot of times, all of us will start a membership. It wasn't the right fit. And it's like, okay, let's try it. Now I learned. It's not that I failed. A lot of people go, I failed one time, so I'm not going to do it again. No, you learned so much. Now you get to learn from your mistakes and do the next one better.
Right. I love it. And now she probably has multiple hundreds of members. And you said paying $100 a year? Like,
Thousands. Over 3,000. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So she's cleaning up. That's incredible. Well, so that's an awesome story of a unique membership, number one, that we've talked about here today. So what's another unique membership? What other examples do you have for us?
Yeah. Cassidy is in our membership. She's been in for about a year now. And she has a membership called Succulents and Sunshine. And it's helping people grow succulents. Who would have ever thought that you can create a membership around that? But she has, I don't know what the numbers are, but she has all these pages. She's been featured in a lot of different magazines on this, online magazines. But think about that. When you can create something where it's so clear what it's about, and you have people that are into this, they're like that. So when I talk to people, I was at the dentist last week, and the woman, helping me, clean my teeth, she's like, so what do you do? And I gave membership for memberships, and she's like, same look. And then we started talking about, she's about to retire. She's like, people, I would love something like that, but I don't even know what I could do. Within 5 minutes, she's telling me how soon as she gets home from work, she's taking care of these monarch butterflies. And I'm like, that? She's like, no. I'm like, and she's explaining the process. I'm like, it really is just the mental hurdle of, like, I can lead this or I'm too afraid to lead this. But there are thousands of people that are fascinated with monarch butterflies and nurture the caterpillar, but if you can lead people in that space, like, that's what it is. That's what Cassie does with succulents.
Okay, because if I had $1 for every person I've talked to in the last 5 years who said I've killed my succulents, and I don't know how, I don't know why, but I still can't do it, but I really love succulents, so I keep buying them.
Yes.
I've had a few $100s.
Or you can join her membership that's a low price membership. I don't think it's more than $20 a month. But not only are you going to learn how to keep them, but you're going to think about that. You think about when you go somewhere and, like, I don't feel like I fit in, right? We all feel like that at church, at school, whatever. When you could have like-minded people of similar interests. And also, here's the thing also, when people are paying, they pay attention. And they're a lot more just focused on what they're doing. So that's why I'd be like, oh, why can't it just be for free? I'll tell you this, anytime I've let somebody into our membership as a gift, we've learned our lesson. They never do the work and they never take it seriously. When you pay attention. And same with, even if you're paying $20 a month, the people are they're going to honor the community more, and they're going to honor the people more. And she's built that with that. So like you said, even without even knowing this, you heard so many people say, oh, I kill the succulents. I don't know why. Where do you go if you want to do, as opposed to a book where you read it and then put it away, or a leader that leads on this, studies this like crazy. Like, I study memberships like no other because it's my niche, right? So I'll come up with examples that other people won't. Same with her with succulents. The more niche you can get into your hobby or skill set, the better you're going to be, and the better tribe you're going to attract.
So I want to do a little sidebar. This is two questions that have popped into my head while we're talking here. Do most memberships that you've coached on or helped people start up, do they have like a course attached to what they do, or is it set up however they want, where there's like a weekly live training or a weekly call or whatever that timing might be? What does that typically look like for a membership?
The beautiful thing about memberships, it could be exactly what you want it to be. Some people, it's content based alone, like courses that, hey, every week we're going to discuss it or we're going to lay it out with that. But again, back to they come for the content, but they stay for the community. It's generally a mix of content like that with live calls. It's generally a mix of that, but you can make it any way you want. You could say there's a monthly call. We do a weekly call. I just love the work. Honestly, if people could handle it, I would do more than once a week. Mm-hmm. I just love, this is what I want to talk about. So to 1 hour a week, it almost seems limiting, but with my stadium analogy, it's kind of like a football game. It's kind of like in Cincinnati, the Bengals play Sunday afternoon, right? That one game. That one call for me is my game of the week. So I do 3 to 4 hours of research for that call to make sure that it's just killer. So we crush it. If it was once a month, I would be just imagine an NFL player only playing once a month. He'd be like, they'd be ready to hit somebody. Like once a week is ideal. More than that, it dilutes a little bit. So for us, it's once a week. A lot of people once a month, sometimes twice a month, but it generally is a combination of calls with curated, pre-recorded content.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Do you have a point of sale system you can trust, or is it a real POS? You need Shopify for retail. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify POS has everything you need to sell in person. Go to shopify.com/system, all lowercase, to take your retail business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/system.
Okay, gotcha. I'll pull us back out of the rabbit hole. All right, So we had murder mystery quilting. We had succulents. And let's hit on number 3 here. What's another unique membership that you've encountered?
John Sanders is another guy in our group, and he has a membership called the Entree Pastors membership. So now we're getting away from the quilting and the succulents. His mission, and it's a really noble one, is to take pastors out of the poverty mindset and poverty world that a lot of pastors are in, because, we're going into faith here, but religion, but it's like so many pastors don't get paid very well. And yet they're asked to run a church, but their families suffer, and they're often meant to feel bad for you shouldn't need this stuff. But how do you build it? How do you build a life without an income? And it's one of the few professions where it's almost looked down upon to do well. So his whole thing is that he wants to change the narrative on that. He wants to help pastors build their own business so they're not relying on the church for income, so they can actually thrive and then actually help their church thrive. So that's the entire focus of his membership and community is Entree Pastors.
Wow, very cool. Because it's hard to grow without having abundance.
Yeah.
To grow and spread and share your word, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's very cool. So that's pretty super niche. So I imagine his target market is pastors.
It's only pastors.
It's only pastors. That's very specific. But there's plenty of those out there.
But if you think about it, any great niche, Tim Ferriss said about this, is like niche down until it hurts. Any great niche has a really specific target down to that red bullseye. But within a bullseye are other circles around it, right, that spread out. There are people that are probably like, I like John a lot. I want to build a business, but I'm not a pastor. I could still learn from him. We have people that are deep into the membership space, and there's also people that they don't even have a membership yet, but they think it's going to be a good idea for the future. So they're paying to be in our membership to learn, even though they're on the second or third rung of that bullseye. They're not right in that red dot. They're beyond it. So when you niche down till it hurts, you hit your audience, but then you also will attract people from the second, third, and fourth circles around. So you don't necessarily have to be a pastor to follow what he's doing, but you can learn the business skills from it. So that's an area that can really help. Like, oh, wait a second, we don't have to turn them down. They can learn, but who we're going to really focus on are simply the Entree Pastors.
Wow. Okay, I love that. That's really targeting down, but still giving yourself plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So that was 3 kind of more unique ones. Let's mix in one that, for lack of a better term, maybe feels more mainstream or maybe more common, or one that you've seen more of, as opposed to you probably haven't seen more of one of those first 3.
Yeah.
I'm guessing thus far. So let's talk about one of those.
Yeah, there's a lot. My friend Dustin Heiner, he's a real estate investor, and he has a membership for real estate investors. It's actually very simple if you think about it. The difference is the shift comes from the idea of going from I'm going to do to I'm going to teach. There's a lot of people that are successful real estate investors that could have stepped up and said, I'm going to lead, but most don't. But every entity needs leadership to step up in a kind of different way. So he was an investor in real estate, did very well with it, and then he started getting a lot of questions on it. And his model really shapes out to exactly how we teach, because we pressed him on this. He was a guest on the call, and I'm asking the questions, and everybody wants to know the major success because it's a successful membership. It's got, I think right now it's $300 a month, but it's $1,500 just to join up front, because he has 6 full courses within the membership. And if you join for just $300, you could literally in a month take all those courses and then leave. So he said, yeah, there's going to be people that do it. So it's almost like any type of admission fee. And we're adding this onto ours as well because there's so much content. Not as much as he's doing, but $1,500 to join. And then it's $300 a month from now on. And he's crushing it with it because he started doing one-on-one coaching on real estate. He started doing it for free. This is really hard for people to get sometimes. Almost everything starts free. I would love to even go back to the Cincinnati Reds in their first year. What was it like? They were probably handing out tickets like crazy just to get people in the stadium.
1869, first professional team. Must have been cheaper back then.
Tickets were cheaper, but I imagine it's like maybe they had a great fan base, but maybe they needed to give away 15,000 tickets to get people in the stadium. Same thing with this. I started coaching for free. I was photography. My first membership and my first coaching was about photography. And my first clients, I didn't charge them anything. I needed to become a better coach. Then I got paid for it. Then, like Dustin, started realizing they keep asking me the same questions. I'm answering. So now this is the basis of a membership. Instead of doing one-to-one, instead of just getting paid one-to-one, I can now do a call for 10 or 20 people and answer their questions. Now we're kind of like in a little bit of group coaching. Well, what if we do 100 people all in the same space? Now it doesn't happen overnight, but you build that out. But now we can speak on a topic weekly that is around this niche and it's for these people. And that's what Dustin did. Now he's got a live event. He's got a real estate live event that's 3 or 4 years now that's killing it and all these different levels to it, just like a stadium from this one, I think a very common idea, which is real estate investing. You hear about it every day.
Yeah. And the whole point of his membership is he is sharing all his accumulated knowledge over the years of being a successful real estate investor.
Yeah. And memberships are kind of mastermindy where in some ways where it's like, well, when you start bringing these people in, it's not just Dustin that's the expert anymore. Now you're meeting this person that's doing it and that person. Then you learn from them. Maybe that idea you don't like, but this one you love. You're in that network of people that are doing it. And then, hey, I got a deal over in San Diego, but I'm going to be in Italy for a month. Anybody want to, grab this thing? And all of a sudden you make
now you've got an exchange.
$80,000. Yeah, from a membership that you're paying $300 a month for. Like that stuff happens.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, so that's a fantastic example of a more quote unquote mainstream type of membership. Let's stay on that theme. What's another one that fits in that vein?
Oh man, there's so many to choose from. I guess it could be considered mainstream. Kent Sanders is a member of our mastermind and he has the Profitable Writer membership. And he's a ghostwriter. He's written a lot of high profile books that you wouldn't know he wrote because his name doesn't go on the cover, which I have a pet peeve about, which bothers me so much that ghostwriters don't get their names on books and the author gets all the credit for it when they're not really the author. But that's a whole nother story.
It's like ghost songwriting, right? Like Taylor Swift is singing some pretty incredible songs, but she didn't even write them.
The only difference there is she still has to perform it.
Right. That's true. There's a little different there.
A writer, once a ghostwriter writes your book for you, you don't have to perform. You might go and speak. So there's a whole other thing. And I'm getting a lot of authors mad right now that didn't actually write their books, but that's too bad.
Part 3, we'll pick those bones.
Yeah, exactly. But so he has a community called The Profitable Writer, and it is teaching people how to actually make money with their writing, how to build the following, how to then build the client-based work, because it does start with client-based work, and then to go out to where you find more robust and unique income streams from writing. And there's so many people that want to write, but it was the same thing with photography. All these people are great at the art, but they're terrible at business. So the Profitable Writer speaks to, there's the creative side, the writing, but they probably need more attention on the business side than the writing, because they're going to write for free anyway. They're not going to study the business for free. That was the thing with our first business with photography. Like, I will shoot all day long. It's what I love. It's what I love doing. What I didn't love doing or didn't do was study business. And once I realized we need to start a business, I didn't even focus on the art for 2 years. I just read business books, and that's what catapulted everything. So you need both, but so many artists are not good at the business side. So Profitable Writer, everybody, if you write on social media, you're a writer of some sort. Can you take your writing and actually turn it into something that's profitable?
So a little rabbit hole I want to jump down real quick. For these memberships and all the memberships that you've coached through the years, I imagine that one of the first things a person who wants to have a new membership, one of the first problems they might have is, how do I even get people into my membership? Like your first example, she had a brick and mortar, she had an email list. But for someone who might not have that type of resource, what do you recommend to folks that are in that position and still wanting to get their membership off the ground?
I say this every single time. It takes 3 months to launch. It takes 3 years to freedom.
Yep. It's not get rich quick.
If you can't accept that, I honestly don't even want to work with you. Again, it's not a power washing business. I can go knock on a door in my neighborhood tomorrow and make $200 and power wash the driveway if I have the power washer. It's a service-based thing that and I can go do that. So that's why I use, and I don't remember if we talked about it in the last call, but we have a stadium model that we teach from sports, which is basically they play a game, one niche game in one niche stadium. They give tons of content away for free. And they have all these different levels that you can choose from to pay for. That's us. We give tons of free content away for this is what we teach. But we get paid for access and implementation. When you come into our stadium, you choose the level. That doesn't happen. It takes years. Every stadium takes 3 years to build. Every business, essentially, to get to a point that they want takes 3 years. It's no different here. So the analogy I use is this, and correct me if I mentioned this to you, so I apologize. But we lived in Pittsburgh for 10 years, and it's a confluence. It's two rivers that come together that form the Ohio River, the third largest river in the country. Two rivers, smaller rivers that form a big one. To me, it's two things to build this. For any membership owner, it's exactly what we teach and we dive into. It's content, it's relevant, engaging content, and it's real, true connection. You don't need funnels. You don't need all these things you have to pay for. You don't need that. If you consistently create meaningful, relevant content on social media mostly, like that's the first level, you will build attention. You will build following. You will build trust. If you connect with those people, as opposed to just giving thumbs up to a message, as opposed to ignoring people, as opposed to people sending you a voice memo and you not responding back, you connect with them. You help those people. You answer their questions. Those questions lead to more content. That content leads to more trust. Eventually, those rivers come together, and ironically in Pittsburgh, where they come, that's where the stadiums are. And that's where you make your offers. And the offers could be a free download. It could be a low-price membership. It could be a mastermind. Anything that you build within it. But I guarantee people, if you take the time to create relevant, engaging content and you connect, not just the content. So many people do this. Tons and tons of content, relentless, too much, but they don't make personal connections. And then they make an offer through their email list. And people don't trust them still. There's no reason why they're going to buy. Almost, I would say 75% of our members come from a personal offer that I personally make. And most don't because they don't, whatever they're afraid of with their own connection. But I reach out to our listeners. I reach out to our followers. I reach out to the people on social and I form connect. I answer questions and I do it with a 3-year mindset. And the meaning something great's going to happen in the next 3 years from this. It doesn't have to happen. I don't need this person to join my membership today. I don't need to do anything. Just follow along. But I guarantee you, if I stay trustworthy and consistent, over time, you're going to be like, he's the guy that I gotta follow. If you have that mindset, you'll succeed. If you need it now, go get another job. But you don't build a foundation of a stadium that lasts for 40 years by doing it on sand and doing it with crappy material and crappy work. You do it by building it solid, and that's how you build it.
Right. All right, perfect. I love it. Sorry, I'm rabbit hole guy. I'll take us down there, but I'm going to pull us right back out. All right, so let's get back to our list. We just talked about a few of the more commonplace types of memberships. Let's talk about another fun, unique one that you've experienced.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's fun, but a girl that I'm connected with, she's not in our group. We've just connected. And I helped her because she was doing group coaching. And I'm like, why are you not doing, she was doing everything one-off. And the enemy of so many of these businesses is one-off sales, whether it's coaching or anything. And I had a conversation with her, and she actually had an accident where she lost one of her eyes, which is really dramatic. Well, guess what she did? She started helping other people who had also lost an eye. And, they're going on that most of us don't understand. So she started doing workshops for them. I think it was in terms of business. And now she has a membership. I can't remember the name of it, but it's literally for people who've lost one eye, and they have a community together for that. Like, you might feel alone. You might feel like, nobody understands me. Nobody understands what I'm going through. Well, she put something together so that they had commonality and they had friends who got it and they could, grow together. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Wow. Yeah. And I know there's so many folks out there that whether it's a disability or something that just, like you said, leads them down a completely different path, whether that was by design or most likely not by design, there's a way to make flowers out of a crap hill, right?
Yeah.
And a membership could be an incredible way to do that. So that's a really cool example of thinking completely outside of the box when I'm sure she didn't plan to have it be that way, of course. So that's wild.
Nobody would probably ever choose that to be the path to what you're doing, right? It
Yeah.
was from an accident. But
Wow.
you think about all the other people that have had accidents that now they're kind of all alone. Maybe it's whatever, you could just name it. Just name it, but then realize, oh, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know how to deal with I'm just making a migraine, or how to deal with some disablement that I feel like just lonely and depressed because it's just me. And then you find other people that not only are going through it, but they're doing stuff with it. And then you get inspired by it. It's the same thing within it. When people in our group see what other people are doing and they're kind of thinking about quitting, or they're kind of not doing the work, they say all the time, you guys are just inspiring me to keep doing this. And that's what community does.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about bringing that community together. I mean, heck, maybe you've done incredible things, but you've had a learning disability or some sort of something that's really hindered your path, but you found a way through it. There's got to be someone else, other people like you out there. A membership could be a great way to build that community and have an incredible lifestyle business.
And in terms of joining it, it's like, well, maybe you can't afford time or money to hire them one-to-one, but you can really afford a group to be a part of, to kind of be, to get some access to it. That's the whole thing. We have every level. We have from very exclusive of coming out here and spending 2 days with me, one-to-one, and you get all my attention, to free content or low priced and everything in between. But that didn't happen overnight also. We built that over time, over years to build that.
I love it. So, general question here. Out of the memberships that you've coached people on, do most of them follow the stadium model? It sounds like that part is very organic. Like you start out with a specific membership, specific type of pricing model. Is that pretty common in memberships, or is that very unique to what you teach?
I just made that up a couple of years ago.
There you go.
So I've been teaching since then, but really hardcore teaching in the last year, because it was like, it's always what I've been alluding to. But once it really snapped about 2 years ago, I was at a Tampa Bay Rays game with my son. It was probably about 3 years ago. And I looked at the scoreboard, and in between innings, and it said season memberships available. So I was 48 at the time. I'm like, my entire life of going to baseball games since I was 6 years old, it said season tickets. My entire life, season tickets. When did they change it to season memberships? What made them do that? So I started researching it, and I started realizing members get benefits. Then I had this example. I took my son to, and again, if I said this last time, I talk a lot, so I don't want to repeat myself for your audience, but I took my son to a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. We got club seats. And so I'm going to get good seats, first game. And at the end of the game, I'm like, let's stay. There's a lot of traffic. We'll get some food, watch the game on the big screen. And I look out through the glass, and there's kids and parents playing football on the field. Like, I've shot sports for years, and I've never seen this after a game. So I was like, I'm going to try to find a way to get me and Dylan on the field. So I go to the security guy. I said, what's happening down there? And he said, those are only for season members. And I was like, I can't go down there. I'm a one-off ticket buyer. I bought tickets only for today's game. Season members that commit, members that are a part of the community, get access that everybody else doesn't get. And that was like a 2x4 to the side of my head. I'm like, I'm the membership guy. And I didn't even see that. So what I did the next day, I'm literally scrolling. I'm like, Bucs season memberships. What comes in it? Discounted tickets, discounted parking, discounted merchandise and food. You get to go in the locker room and meet the players. You get to go on the field once a year and play on the field. You get to go to the draft party and meet the new play, all for the member. Like, okay, so guess what? Then I learned 80% of the income from ticket sales comes from the high-end season memberships.
Wow.
That's how they're able to sign next year's free agents. It's not from you going up to the box office the day of the game buying a ticket. They could care less financially about that. They care about members. So what do? You over-deliver for members. So that's what we do. Who's going to get a one-on-one coaching call from me just while I'm driving for nothing? A member. Somebody who invests, not the one person that buys a one-off course or coaching thing. The people that are invested in this community are going to get extra access that nobody else gets. So when you can do that, you build raving fans, you build trust, you build people that talk about you. Just got off a call right before this with somebody who was recommended by somebody in my membership. You got to talk to this guy about it. And all of a sudden she's like, that's how it works. So that's the flow of members get benefits. And that's what you could do. But a lot of people don't take advantage of that. But those become your raving fans that will tell everybody about you.
Yeah. All right. I love that. Man, maybe it's just up my alley, but the comparison to sports and the sports membership
Same.
style, which I never realized that because I get blown up by the Reds all the time for, do you want season membership? And they do the
That's
same thing.
it.
It's memberships. And they say, look at everything you get besides just your 4 seats in your selected section. And you have all these different levels you can get. The gold package is everything. You want it all. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but it's going to be worth it. You want the bottom, you get your 6 games or your weekend package, you're good. Yeah, it's genius.
John Schuckman, who's in our group, he's actually switching brands. So I'll give him the newer brand in this. He's had the real estate survival guide, but he's going more towards social media for realtors because he's really good on social media and he helps realtors with this. He got season tickets for the Phillies this year. And he messaged me and he's like, look at this email I just got. It was a personal letter handwritten from the guy in the team. And I'm invited to a dinner at the stadium. I'm going to meet these players. This is before the season even starts. Look at all the things, though, when you think in terms of the 80-20 rule, and these are the people that help you build your business, you get to now say, listen, you don't feel bad about you can't do this for everybody. You actually have now parameters like members keep us in business. So I give my attention. That's what they did. Great spread of food. Players come in to give autographs. Now, the best part about that, he's sitting there and he's talking. Well, who are you hanging out with when you go to an event like that? Other people that can afford season memberships, other business owners that can afford it. Now you get into the networking side of it. He got a real estate deal from being in that room that first time of somebody like, oh, hey, think about it. This realtor must be good. He can afford season memberships. That's a good amount of money. It kind of puts you in a different class, even in terms of perception.
Wow. I love it. So many connections being made through that type of community. That's incredible.
My uncle, when I was younger, said, kid, it's, total New York, just like, where we came from. He just had everything. And he goes, kid, always fly first class. I'm like, that's a lot of money. He goes, you have no idea. Always fly first class. It's really his only advice to me. I sit in first class those 4 hours. I meet people that I will never meet in any part of life. So I was like, really? So that's why when I go to events, I'm VIP. I'm paying for the bigger one because you're going to be in a room with other people that are just doing things that you want to be doing.
Right. I love it. What a perfect perspective on that. All right, so I think that's a perfect or maybe imperfect segue. Who knows? Who cares? It's our show. We're running it. So let's hear another unique example. I'm excited for these unique ones are awesome. We're going to get to a couple more of the more commonplace ones, but I want to hear a few more of each.
Yeah. I don't know the guy personally. I just did the studies, but there was this guy so it's a more aloof one because it's just for my studies. He was a yoga instructor and he did yoga teaching. Then he went online with it, but then he was doing gymnastics. He was teaching gymnastics and doing that online. What he realized within gymnastics, there was a real big need for people to learn how to do just the right type of handstand.
Wow.
So we created a handstand membership. And here's where it's going to just blow your mind. From everything that I've studied, I can't give you the financials, the details like in your face. But for the people I've talked to and everything I see, it's $1 million membership. It's a handstand membership, $1 million membership.
What?
Well, because think about scale. Just think about scale. If you have the product and it doesn't require your personal attention with everything, and say your membership is $100 a year, which I'm not sure. So I'll do more. We'll talk again. I'll get all the details. Maybe I'll introduce you and you have them on. But for me, with a certain level of our membership, say the $57 version, that's the library. That's just content. It requires 0 time for me for every new person that joins. Mm-hmm. So you could join right now and it doesn't take a second more of my time. The content's already going into that. Well, what's to stop 100,000 people from joining if you can market it?
That's right.
That's how you get to $1 million membership.
Yeah. It's not that far flung.
Yeah. So if you have the niche and you have the word of mouth and you have the marketing and you have all that stuff going and there's a need for it. Yeah.
Yeah. How to do a handstand. There you go.
It makes you stop in your tracks and like open your eye like, no. And then you look at it and okay, I see it. There's another woman that I was connected with and I'm going to have her as a guest. She has a watercolor painting membership. It's $14 a month and it's a multi-6-figure membership. Because I'll give you another example. Liz Wilcox, a friend of mine, she was a guest in our group. She was actually just on Survivor. If anybody watched Survivor, she was one of the people on Survivor. She started, and she has a great story behind it, but she started a membership on email marketing.
Yeah. We're actually having her on the show a little later this year.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
It's $9 a month or $7 a month. I'm not sure which one it is. And now I think it's over $400,000 a year from a $9 membership. She doesn't have any other level. She doesn't have a stadium. Not everybody has to do that and I talked to her. We had lunch. She's like, I don't really want to do that. Totally cool. I'm ADHD. Here's the difference. I'm ADHD and so are a lot of my people. Here's the thing with ADHD people. we don't like to maintain. At least I don't. We want to build something new. So here's what the stadium did for me. I get to build something new, get it to the point of maintaining, and then I get to go build the next part. But the problem in the past is I would go build something completely different in a different city, in terms of stadiums. Whole different ball game. No, when I finally realized it's the stadium keeps me in my boundaries, but the levels keeps me in my creativity. So we're doing an unconference next year, which is a conference that's just unlike all the other ones. There's no speakers or stages or vendors or upsells. It's 100 entrepreneurs, and it is brainstorming, mastermind, one-to-one coaching. It's the hallways of a conference colliding with an intimate mastermind retreat. And that is a VIP level of our stadium. So with me, I get to constantly create the next level because that's just my personality. With Liz, she's doing a whole lot of other stuff. And she's like, I just want to build this one thing. So now she has probably over 4,000 members at this point on email marketing. Now, that's niche, but it's not, right? It kind of is. It's kind of unique, but it's also like email marketing. Everybody uses it, but somebody decided to step up and lead.
Yeah.
And it was her.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, we're excited. We have her on the schedule later this year. So I'm excited to meet her and go over that.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting close to time here. So let's hear, do you have another, I've been using the term commonplace, but a more common example of a membership that we can kind of round out with here?
There's a million, but Ken Carfagno's in our group, and he was a cleaner. He was a house cleaner. Still is. Well, he has a business now. He doesn't do the cleaning anymore. He's got a staff around him. But he realized a lot of people are cleaning houses, but they're doing it where they're building teams and they're building systems around it. But he was a solo cleaner for a long time, and he figured out a system as a solo cleaner to do it faster, more effectively, and more profitable. And then decided, he had questions about it. He had people asking him questions and started a membership called, I think it's the Solo Cleaning. I can't remember what the full name is, but it's essentially for house cleaners. And they're on their own. They don't have a team, they don't have a staff, but they're looking to build a profitable business cleaning homes or offices. I mean, it's standard, but it's not, right? A lot of them kind of toe the line of like, is this unique? Is it just common? How many realtors are there? How many house cleaners are there? They're all over the place, but they don't have community. Mm-hmm. They're alone. And a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of us are just kind of on our own.
Yeah.
And we need community to be a part of.
Well, and like to go back to the sports analogy, it would be ludicrous to be on a team with no coach, or it's ludicrous to try and be a high-level pitcher or basketball player, football player without a coach, someone who's either been there or has been around the game much longer than you that can teach you how to do it the right way. And it's the same as being a business owner, using the house cleaning as an example. Maybe you're an individual, you just started your own house cleaning business, it's just you and a bucket and a mop, but you probably, if you haven't invested in one or found one, you don't have a coach teaching you how to do it. You know how to mop the floor, but maybe you don't know how to do the business side of it. This type of membership is the coach. It is your mentor. It is the person who's going to say, here's how you do this.
In so many ways. And, I shot sports for years, right? I shot Tom Brady in some of the biggest games of his career. I was on the field. I was 20 yards from him for his first Super Bowl in New Orleans.
Oh,
I shot
awesome.
the Deflategate game. I shot, multiple AFC championship games. And I'd observed this because I was building this business while I was still doing that. So I'm like, I'm next to LeBron James on the bench during the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm listening to what they're talking about. How do leaders lead? How do they handle pressure? I wasn't thinking like a sports photographer. I was thinking like a journalist. I'm taking notes. And I watched Brady one time, AFC Championship game in Foxborough versus the Colts. He had his head coach, he had Josh McDaniels, his offensive coordinator, and he had a quarterback's coach. Quarterback's coach was probably 10 years younger than him. Quarterback's coach probably made less than $100,000 a year. Quarterback coach never did what Tom Brady did, but he could show him how to throw a ball the way Brady probably didn't think about. That's why he was there. So that you don't always, and this is the other thing, because people are going to be listening like, well, I'm not the rock star of my industry. You don't always have to be. If you can teach something that other people can't teach, or you can see something that other people can't see, you can lead. You don't have to be the highest earner to do it. There are people that have much more profitable, successful memberships than I have, right? Much, scaled. I think I teach as good as anybody because this is what I focus on. I'm intensely focused on learning how to show everybody how to do this, as opposed to just only building it. But he won 6 Super Bowls, but had 3 coaches that never played professional football and never won a Super Bowl telling him what he should be doing. It's a mindset shift of like, people go, oh, never take advice from somebody who hasn't done what you haven't done. I don't agree with that. There are people that can see things that you can't see and will make you better from it. And that's what we should be doing.
Yeah. And I remember I had a mentor in the past who said something along the lines of, you are able to teach what you know, and you can help someone even if they're only one step behind you, because you have experience that they don't yet have and that you are now able to share with them. You might not be the bajillionaire, you might not have 30 years experience in this, but you have the experience that this person needs to know or learn from at their stage in the game.
Total 100%. Best thing that ever happened to me, literally my first paid coaching client ever. I was doing good. It was a husband and wife team, and I was helping them a lot. And then I got all insecure, and I got imposter syndrome. And I actually said to him, I said, Brian, I said, I don't think I'm the right person for you. And I said this, I'm not Tony Robbins. And you know what he said to me? I can't afford Tony Robbins. And I was like, that's all I need to hear.
Ta-da.
Even he needed somebody in his space that he could afford that could help him. Even if I was Tony Robbins right there, he couldn't pay me tens of thousands of dollars for one conversation. I was there helping him 2 steps ahead from what he needed. And that got rid of all the insecurity. I'm like, all right, let's go. And it was amazing. But I had psyched myself out thinking I need to be the best in the world. I just need to be ahead of them and see things that they can't see. And being bold enough to tell them or guide them.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're bumping up against time here. I know you're a busy man, so I want to make sure I honor that for you. What's one last piece of advice for our listeners out there when it comes to memberships? Maybe some of our listeners have considered this, or maybe like myself, many times in my business life, I've psyched myself out due to imposter syndrome or not knowing enough. If you could distill all of that down into one little piece of advice, what might it be for someone who wants to consider a membership and just needs maybe one little kick in the pants?
Okay, let me preface this by saying I got about 100 of my Ken say for the one piece of advice. I'm going to pretend like there are 100 in this hat, and I'm just pulling one out. It's not the main one.
Perfect.
Right? It's one. But I had a conversation with somebody at an event last week, and she was really interested in this. Hadn't thought about it, knew she probably needed it, and she started asking me like, but what happens with this? But what happens when this happens? And I said to her, I said, it's just like you driving out, you pulling out of your street and seeing 22 traffic lights ahead of you, and you waiting till all the traffic lights are green before you start going. You're looking at 14th Street when you're on 1st Street. The key is to get started in some way. And it doesn't have to be starting a membership. It could be, am I creating content even around what I'm interested in or what I can lead on? Am I building connection? Am I friend requesting people in this space that can follow the work that I do? Am I even doing that? Because by the time you go to write that book, right, that so many people do, and you have no following from it, like that's the thing, it's wholly different off topic, but all the writers that don't create content online, but then publish a book. I don't care about your book. I haven't seen the lead up to it. So my point is, don't look ahead 22 streets and have to have everything ready to go before you don't need the answers to that. Every street you drive, you learn a little bit more. You make better connections. You become a little more confident. And that's what stops people. I did a post on social media about stop waiting till you're all in to do something. I have people that tell me like, I'm going to join your membership in 4 months when I'm all in, but I'm kind of busy with the kids right now. I'm like, those are the people that never do it because they're always waiting for all the traffic lights to be green before they start. Because when you go one street and you go, oh, I didn't crash and I learned something and that's over there. Okay, now I'm going to go a little bit more. Like that's always been my thing. I'm always Mr. Magoo. If you remember, I'm goofy like Mr. Magoo. I can't see that far in front of me. I could just see what's in front and I'll take that next step. And I'll fall sometimes, but it leads to a great story that I can tell. Bad choices make great stories. I truly believe that. So that would be my whole thing. Don't, just move with the next traffic light and keep going and don't wait for everything to be green before you start.
Right. Just dip your toe and keep going. I think that's ideal advice. And so many guests we've had kind of have very similar advice where it's just take the dang action. Like it might be imperfect. It will be imperfect. In fact, it'll be very imperfect, but you know what? You're going to learn, you're going to adjust, and you're going to improve, and you're going to make daily progress, one tiny step at a time.
Imagine being a parent saying, we're not going to have kids until I know what's going to happen when they're 17. I'm going to know how to handle it.
Yeah. Makes no sense.
You never have a kid.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Same thing here. Same thing here.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Well, Vincent, as much as I'd love to keep rattling on, I know you've got to be places. So thank you again for joining us. How can our listeners get a hold of you? And if they want to check you out on the interwebs, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah. Website's mymembershipfreedom.com. On there, we have a quiz. It's a really simple quiz is a membership right for your business. Is a membership right for you. So feel free to go on there. It's a free quiz and all the information is there. But Facebook and LinkedIn are probably my most active. I post there pretty much daily. So please follow me there or connect with me there and send a friend request or send a message. I love connecting. I love conversations. So if I can help out, happy to do so.
I love it. And yeah, folks, be sure to hit up Vincent. I follow you more so on LinkedIn, though we're connected on that and as well as Facebook, but I love your posts on LinkedIn. They're fantastic. So thanks again, Vincent. This has been a pleasure. I can't thank you enough.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Yep, you bet. All right, have yourself a great day.
You too.
All right, let's hear it for Vincent. If you're anything like me, then your mind has been sufficiently blown with the type of things that you could turn into a membership. We're in the heart of the information age. There's a lot of knowledge that I'm willing to bet just about every one of us has in our head that we might not consider to be worth money. But there's probably a community out there waiting to be formed to enjoy the same things as you or to learn from you. We had the example from Vincent of everybody needs a coach, right? And if there's something that you can coach on, there's potential for you to start and grow a membership. So thank you to Vincent for joining us for both part 1 and 2 of this series. I hope you all found it to be as inspirational as I did. All right, so that's it for me today. Brian Guerin signing off. We will catch you on the next episode of the Millionaire University podcast. But before I let you go, I have but 2 humble requests of you. Number 1, if you do me a favor, go ahead and text your best friends, maybe your family members, your cousins, your aunt, your uncle, whoever it is, and let them know that you just listened to a killer episode of the Millionaire University podcast. And if you feel like they'd enjoy it too, let them know and send them a link to this pod. We'd really appreciate it. And number 2, like I said at the beginning, if you have not listened to Vincent's first episode, go ahead and check that out. It's episode 136, just a few episodes before this one. Again, thank you all for joining us. I can't wait to see you back on the next episode of the Millionaire University podcast.